hustle and bustle of the winter holiday season is upon us, with its long-standing traditions and sometimes freezing temperatures. But straddling the equator in the beautiful country of Ecuador, with its amazing Amazon rainforest and secluded Pacific beaches, the temperature is now a balmy 72 degrees. And tonight, from its capital city of Quito, located almost 9,000 feet above sea level in the majestic Andes Mountains, it promises to get a whole lot hotter. As one of the nation's own, 27-year-old Segundo Mercado fights for the vacant IBF middleweight title. Mercado, the only Ecuadorian ranked in the top 10 in any weight division, has become a national hero as he strives to be the first from this tiny country to win a world title. But hoping to ruin the dreams of a nation is Philadelphia's own perennial hot prospect Bernard Hopkins. His theatrical entrances and dramatic finishes have earned him the nickname the Executioner, as well as the right to fight for a world title. It's number 1 ranked Bernard Hopkins versus number 2 Segundo Mercado for the IBF middleweight championship. Plus, champion but relatively unknown Frankie Liles steps into the line of fire in his first title defense as he faces former 2-time world champion Michael Nunn, who hopes to reignite his career. It's Frankie Liles versus Michael Nunn for the WBA super middleweight title. For a hot time in the old town of Quito, Ecuador, it's live from the Coliseo General Romagnaway tonight on Showtime Championship Boxing. It is showtime in the city of eternal spring, Quito, Ecuador. Founded in 1534, this colonial metropolis sits high in the Andes Mountains. And tonight, this enchanting city, known for its active volcanoes, erupts with championship boxing at the Coliseo General Romagnaway. And while tonight's action unfolds in South America, this control room in New York City will be our command center for this evening's telecast, a joint venture between Showtime and Don King Productions. And in our studio this evening, we'll escape the hot Ecuadorian climate to take a cool and close look at the middleweight and super middleweight divisions. So once again, Showtime goes abroad, but at the same time confirms that there's no place like home. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck, your host for tonight's edition of Showtime Championship Boxing. Working with me in the studio shortly will be Bobby Ches. And calling the blow-by-blow south of the equator will be Sam Smith and the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. In our main event, we salute a national hero, 27-year-old Ecuadorian Segundo Mercado, who hopes to bring not only pride to his homeland, but the country's first world title as well. But to win, he'll have to execute exceptionally well as he takes on the executioner, Bernard Hopkins, for the vacant IBF middleweight championship. And in our opening bout, little-known Frankie Liles will defend his WBA super middleweight title for the first time against an opponent who used to be second to none, but who now is clearly second to some, 2-time world champion Michael Nunn. Let's turn now to Bobby Ches. And Bobby, let's start with the super middleweights. You need a scorecard to keep track of this ever-changing division.
Well, you know, the titles change hands for many different reasons. It's just one of those things. They're not rising to the occasion each time out.
How good is Frankie Liles?
Frankie Liles is very much right now an unknown quantity. We haven't seen that much of him, and as we look over his record, we don't see any impressive opponents that he's beaten. So tonight, he has to demonstrate against Michael Nunn, who at one time was bound for glory. He'll demonstrate what he has. Some people I've talked to who know him and have seen him work said he has the possibilities of rising to the cream of the top. I don't know.
How many lives does Michael Nunn have?
Well, Michael Nunn is a good boxer and has always been fast, has not absorbed a lot of damage. Southpaw, awkward, hard to hit twice clean. So his body has not taken a lot of damage. If his body and his mind are still good, he could go on for a long time. I know many times myself, I've been written off more than a good tax write-off. So people will say it's time to fold up, and then some fighters will rise to the occasion as long as they have the hard work and the dedication. After all, if we go by Big George Foreman standards, he should have 10 more years, but I don't think 10 years.
When Roy Jones took on James Toney, he vacated his title. Therefore, we've got Hopkins and Mercado tonight. What do you expect?
Well, once again, I don't know that much about this fighter as well. I'm sitting in a bad place right now. I'm hedging all my bets because I don't know. I haven't seen Mercado. He's south of the equator, not just south of the border. We don't see these fighters too often on Showtime or any of the other networks, so we can't gauge him. Once again, you go to his record. He doesn't have the opponents on there that we can gauge him by. A real old-fashioned flip of the coin toss-up.
Will the home crowd serve as a blessing or a burden for Mercado?
I can't see it hurting him. Some fighters find it as too much pressure. Here, you know, he's a champion, he's fighting to fight for a championship, and he's a champion of a country in essence. The crowd's behind him. It's got to boost him, maybe give him an adrenaline lift. They can't get in the ring and fight for him. He's got to do the job inside there where only two men meet. On paper, Hopkins is a better fighter. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the difference for him, the crowd.
Well, you've heard the catchphrase, ringside review. Right now, it's time to get a ringside preview of tonight's bouts from Quito, Ecuador. So let's get this report from Sam Smith and Ferdy Pacheco, who are at the arena named after General Roman Yahweh, one of the country's revered emperors and the last Inca defender of the empire.
Thank you, gentlemen, and hello, everybody, and welcome to Quito, Ecuador. We are nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, so if Ferdy and I gasp a little before this fight's over, please accept our apologies early. This will not be an equal crowd tonight, despite the fact we're only minutes away from the equator, because when Segundo Mercado steps into this ring, and if he should win to become the first Ecuadorian to win a world title, this is going to be a big night, and we showcase outstanding young talent again here on Showtime.
And if he loses, that's going to be a roof raised off this place. Either way, we're going to have an exciting night in this arena as this whole country waits for this guy to bring prominence to the country and to himself.
10,000 feet above sea level, that's going to be a big problem for Bernard Hopkins, simply because, Ferdy, he didn't arrive here until Tuesday.
That's unexplainable to me. How anybody brings somebody to a place that's this high is unexplainable. My wife had a flamenco troupe come through here, try to dance, almost couldn't finish the concert. These were very young girls who'd been here a week. You cannot do that to a fighter and expect him to have any kind of resistance after round 5, 6, or 7. So big factor in this fight is how Hopkins handles those last rounds.
And in the WBA super middleweight, we're looking at a new champion defending for the first time in Frankie Liles, but a guy that's been around for 9 years in Michael Nunn. But the big question is, which one of the Nunn shows up?
Well, Nunn and his shadow image, Bo, I mean, you know, you don't know which one's coming in. If the good one comes in, they're the best in the world. You know, there's nobody better. But if the bad one comes in, you can look for a dreary night, and you won't know till the bell rings. So if Nunn wants to, he can be the next champion of the world.
So for the WBA title, they will have either a defending champion or one to regain his title as a two-time champion for Nunn. For the IBF, they'll have a new champion. And for this crowd in Quito, they certainly hope it's their man from Ecuador becoming the first man in Ecuadorian history to win a world title. We're here to call the fight right now. That's the setup. Let's go back to New York. Here again is Bruce and Bobby.
Thank you very much, Sam. So we open things up tonight on Showtime Championship Boxing with the WBA Super Middleweight Championship. As the year began, Michael Nunn held the WBA 168-pound title and was attempting to position himself for a unification bout. Steve Little destroyed those plans, only to be dethroned by Frankie Liles. Who could have ever expected a year ago that the man we'd be talking about to defend the title would be the little-known southpaw, Frankie Liles? But then again, it's been a year of turbulence at 168 pounds. And when you follow the revolving WBA super middleweight crown that's moved from champion to challenger during the past 10 months, it's hard to keep up with this passage of royalty.
Just a year ago, two-time champion Michael Nunn was hovering on the brink of greatness with grandiose plans to unify the super middleweight division. But in a simple tune-up bout against former sparring partner Steve Little, catastrophe struck.
Michael Nunn, the champion, wearing the white trunks, says he will not change a thing. Still tough to go. Down goes Michael Nunn. He may have to change a thing or two.
The winner and new champion,
Steve Little, however, had little time to enjoy his championship. For 6 months later in Tucumán, Argentina, he met #1 contender Frankie Liles. Although a highly touted amateur, Liles had compiled his professional record of 24 victories against only 1 defeat in relative obscurity. But he made the most of his first moment in the championship spotlight.
the world, Frankie Liles.
10 months have passed since the WBA super middleweight crown has passed from Nunn to Little to Liles. And so tonight, will it again change hands, or will it for the first time in a year remain with the champion? So the WBA super middleweight crown has gone from Michael Nunn to Steve Little to Frankie Liles. And if you really want to take this tongue twister further, keep in mind that Liles' only loss as a professional was to a guy named Tim Littles. Little confused, Bobby Ches?
Well, you know, last time we talked about the super middleweights and Frank Liles, we said Liles beat Little, who beat Nunn. And even with all that, we know little to none about Liles. And it still hasn't got much better. We haven't seen him against someone we can gauge. We need to see him do just that.
There's no doubt that Liles is a late bloomer, but does he have what it takes to be a force in this division?
We really won't know until we see what we have today. I've talked to some people who think he has the goods. He's a southpaw. They're always awkward and they're always hard to beat. They're always hard to fight. He's up against Michael Nunn, who at one time was considered one of the best pound for pound in the world. Tonight will be a good testing ground and a proving ground for him to do what he has to do to prove that he has the ability to go ahead.
Michael Nunn was definitely lethargic in his loss to Little, so how does he restart his engine?
The best way to restart it is by winning. But for him to win, what he has to do is do what he always has done the best. Hit and not get hit. Blazing speed was always his strong suit. Somewhere along the way, he has to find a way to bring that old fire and concentration back as he once had to fuel a new desire to once again win the title. Without that in his mind, he's not going to do it.
So does the crown stop revolving, and does it say on Liles' head, or does Nunn recapture the throne?
You know what? This is a real good pick'em fight. It can go either way. I think two southpaws, two guys that can box, two guys that are awkward. This can literally go either way. We could have ourselves the proverbial maybe draw.
All right, let's take a look now at the tail of the tape for this WBA Super Middleweight Championship. Nunn comes in at 160 pounds, Liles at 167. Liles has a slight height advantage. Nunn, who is 2 years older than Liles, also has a 3-inch reach advantage. Here are the rules for this WBA title bout. Scoring done in a 10-point system. 3 judges score the fight. The referee does not. There is no standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. Only the referee can stop the fight. The fighter cannot be saved by the bell except in the last round. So let's return now to Quito, Ecuador. And Sam Smith with the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco.
Thank you, Bruce, and welcome back to Quito. And this crowd rather quiet right now as they get ready for the ring walks of our WBA super middleweight contenders and the guys that will go for the championship, Michael Nunn, along with the champion Frankie Liles. And one of the things we're going to find out about this crowd certainly is how much they really know about boxing, because they've got to kind of pick a favorite in this first fight, waiting for their national champion to come in the nightcap.
And there's not much to choose between the two. They both look the same. They both kind of fight the same. Liles came here very early. He's been laying back there with blankets all over him and sleeping as much as he can. We're in the dressing room, and he's kind of quiet and calm. Nunn is kind of up, kind of wants to get this thing on and wants to finish it off, prove that he is indeed regained his form. As Bobby says, the best way to shake the doldrum is to win. What the crowd's going to do here, they have been very receptive to a very long card of boxing that we've had here. They've cheered the knockdowns, they've cheered the right fighters. I think they're in this fight, and I think they're very knowledgeable boxing people. Of course, when their guy comes in, like you said, the roof will come off.
Well, you see the 2-time former world champion, the IBF middleweight champion, and the WBA super middleweight champion, before his surprising loss to Steve Little, makes his way into the ring at 31. Is it going to be a factor when Nunn suddenly starts to lose the defensive skills, which he is probably one of the best in the world, and start going down? Or is this another chapter in a world title fight for Michael Nunn here tonight?
I'll tell you, his style requires a lot of gasoline. It requires a lot of breath, and you don't have too much breath up this far, although he's been here for 3 weeks. I thought all the time he was great, that he was one of the finest defensive fighters I'd ever seen. I still think that. But you got to have some offense with the defense, and that was his fault all along.
Well, he's fought and lost 2 and 1 over some big fighters. He won the IBF title over Frank Tate, lost to James Toney, defeated Victor Cordova, and then lost to Steve Little. So it's been an up and down for Michael Nunn, and he gets ready for a big night tonight against Frankie Liles. Frank coming out of Syracuse, New York, 29 years of age. And this is a guy, Ferdy, that had an outstanding amateur career, but has really kind of toiled in the shadow of so many other fine fighters. Then came to the front, surprisingly, to win the WBA super middleweight title in Argentina over the aforementioned Steve Little. But tonight, he said he's coming to defend. He said, I'm focused, I train better, and I'm really ready for this fight tonight here in Quito, Ecuador.
You know, when a guy is that good in the amateurs, and he is sort of overshadowed or overlooked, you know, that's sort of the politics of boxing. That's the distasteful part of boxing. A guy can be really good and not have the good connections, and he doesn't get the good fights. So that's the kind of thing that I think hurts the sport. In this case, we'll see how much he got. He's got. This is the test of Frank Liles. We know what Michael Nunn looks like. We don't know what Frankie Liles looks like. And their corner, Jack O'Halloran, a prominent former heavyweight contender, is in the corner, says this guy eats and sleeps boxing. He lives with him, and he's ready to go tonight. So let's see how ready he is.
Frank Liles making his way to the ring, and certainly, Ferdy, there's two questions that must be answered. Was it a fluke that this man is the champion? And does Michael Nunn have Lyle come to him, or does he take the fight a little more to him tonight? Two questions I think we're really going to have to answer early.
Yeah, I think that the coming to Lyle, for Lyle to come to Michael Nunn is a done deal, because Nunn doesn't come ahead and fight anybody. He runs around and sees what's before him before he attacks, which may take as far as the third, fourth, fifth round. You know, he has on his plate somebody that he can eat. Doable. He can have that feast if he wants, but Little has to go on.
Well, both fighters have been here for the last few weeks, but they say the altitude is something that's been very difficult, and now we're going to find out how much it will be in the fight. Let's head upstairs. Here is our ring announcer for tonight's program, Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you y a todos nuestros amigos ecuatorianos. Bienvenidos, aficionados al box, al Coliseo Rumiñahui por un gran noche de boxeo. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us around the world, we do welcome you to the beautiful city of Quito, Ecuador, known as the middle of the world, for a big night of action brought to you by Don King Productions, Promotores Asociados, and La Cerveza Más Fina Corona. Bien, amigos, esta es la primera atracción especial de la noche por el título peso supermedio de la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo. This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Association Presidente Gilberto Mendoza, Supervisor Rodolfo Fortis, along with la Comisión de Boxeo Profesional de Pichincha. Presentando a los jueces, introducing to you the judges scoring this bout from ringside. Oscar Perez, Gonzalo Riveras, and Bob Watson. The referee working in this his 20th world title bout, Rafael Ramos. All right, fans, here we go with the WBA Super Middleweight Championship of the World, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Este es el campeonato peso supermedio de la AMB de 12 rounds. Presentando al retador. En la esquina azul, presenting first the challenger. In the blue corner, wearing white trunks with blue trim, un boxeador de Davenport, Iowa, en los Estados Unidos. Pesando 168 libras, he weighed in at the super middleweight limit of 168 pounds. Con un récord de 43 victorias, 2 derrotas con 28 victorias por knockout. His outstanding record includes 43 wins, 2 losses, 28 wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome tonight's challenger, ranked the number 3 super middleweight contender by the WBA. Here is the 2-time world champion and former WBA super middleweight champion of the world, presentando al retador número 3 en el mundo. Aquí está Sweet Michael, second to none. Y al campeón en la esquina roja. His opponent across the ring is the defending champion, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white trunks with blue trim, fighting out of Los Angeles, California, by way of Syracuse, New York, en los Estados Unidos. Con un peso de 167 libras, he weighed in at a ready 167 pounds. Tiene un récord de 25 victorias, 1 derrota y un sin concurso, con 16 ganadas por knockout. His record includes 25 wins, only 1 loss, 1 no contest, with 16 wins coming by way of knockout. Welcome, the WBA Super Middleweight Champion of the World. Tonight, making the first defense of his title, demos la bienvenida al campeón, Frankie Liles. Aquí está el referee Rafael Ramos.
Frank, Michael, I'm here to enforce the regulation of the WBA. Protect yourself at all times. Okay, obey my commands. Good luck. Shake hands. Shake hands. Go back to the corner. Back to the corner.
Well, the two fighters have been introduced. The crowd may have started to pick a favorite here early on, and you can do the same as we get ready for this WBA Super Middleweight Championship. It'll go 12 rounds, and Rafael Ramos, the third man in the ring in his 20th title fight, and he will be a man that'll be maybe called on somewhat tonight, even though Lyle will have to come to Nunn and find out exactly how much Nunn's particular game plan will change. Two things I noticed coming into the ring also. Lyle didn't look like he'd worked up much of a sweat. Is that a problem in the altitude in the dressing room? And even Nunn looked a little dry.
Well, that is a problem of this altitude. I don't find that too remarkable. Both these guys are slow starters, so they'll get warmed up in the ring. It's not a factor in this fight. What is a factor is whether Nunn decides he's going to attack or whether he's going to be a defense. And that we'll see after this first round. Right now, he's just a defensive, picking things off, a defensive fighter.
Well, for the southpaws of the world, certainly two southpaws fighting for a world title tonight. Gives you, of course, a little hurrah for tonight. And Michael Nunn, you can see, standing in the center of the ring, letting Lyle come to him as he normally does, then throws a couple of combinations and misses. Caught a pretty good left off the shoulder of Lyle and sends it into the ropes. Lyle comes out punching on the counter punch.
He stunned Nunn with those 2 punches. He blinked. You can tell when Nunn gets hurt.
Frankie Lyle, and you see Nunn resorting to the swing down, and now he's being warned.
That's a little desperation on his part. He got gonged real good, and he was just trying to buy some time. He knows better than that. That's a foul.
By the way, Liles, with 16 knockouts in his wins, has had 7 of those in the first round. None of his 28 has had 8 in the first round. 18 of his 28 inside of 4. 14 of 16 for Lyle inside the first 4 rounds. So, again, they feel it out in the first round, but they do get their business done.
Well, this is a much more active round than before, than I've ever seen Liles fight before. He usually just runs his first round.
Halfway through round 1, scheduled for 12. Frankie Liles in conversation with him at the weigh-in. Said he felt comfortable. Said he trained harder as the champion. Really didn't know what that responsibility was until he actually got the title.
Until he got his bank account. Look at the zeros. That gets you in the gym. You know, to heighten the similarity, they exchange hard punches there. Not only do they look alike and are boxing alike, but they both have white fronts. I mean, it's like you're watching 2 guys in the mirror.
Let him go, come on, step back.
You see the red tassels down the right side of the trunks and the left of Nunn. Blue stripe down that of Frankie Lyle, the champion. Couple of good left hands that time by Nunn on his way in. And Lyle clinching to try to keep out of trouble. And Nunn wades in with another left hand, and now he holds again and slings his man to the canvas.
Now that's twice that he has resorted to dirty tactics, which the referee has got to get tough about here pretty soon. Well, I must say, it's a completely different character for Nunn. Boy, he's trying to get out of here early.
Michael Nunn starting off as probably one of the premier amateurs that everybody thought was going to be a sure shot pro. A 2-time world champion. Being caught by James Toney in the 11th round to lose his title as a middleweight when he had all the cards going his way. As you see, he sends a right low, and he gets the warning by the referee all the way to his corner.
And the referee's walked him all the way back. Let's listen.
Pretty roached by the working in that corner of Frankie Liles. And you saw how quickly they try to change and get their strategy going for round 2 here, Purdy.
Well, I better change something because he even had a worried look on his face as he'd gotten gone 2 or 3 times. And Nunn is out manhandling him. He's scaring him. And, you know, Nunn's always been this gentlemanly guy. Well, he looks like he's an alley fighter right now. He's throwing people around. He's hitting them low. It's a completely different look for Michael Nunn. 3 nice punches. They didn't have any effect, but they were landing softly as if you were looking for that punch, not really zinging it.
Michael Nunn has been characteristically a counter-puncher, waiting for the other fighter to come to him. As Purdy has pointed out, he's much more aggressive through the first few moments of the second and certainly in the first round. And Liles, almost a mirror effect as they meet each other in the center of the ring again.
Liles is not really punching hard now. It's like you do in a gym workout. You're throwing the punches, but they're not really zinging. They're not really to hurt. Just kind of trying to find him, localize him, and then he comes on. But in the meantime, he's building up points. And let's say that Michael Nunn isn't building up any.
Let him go, come on. Hold it.
We made mention of Liles kind of toiling in the shadow of some of the other great amateurs. He won the National Golden Gloves in '86 as a 147-pounder. Went on to win the U.S. Amateur at a 156-pounder in 1988 and lost in the Olympic box-off to the eventual silver medalist Roy Jones Jr., now one of the champions of the world. So he had a great amateur career that nobody really noticed. Halfway through the second round.
That's another low blow. Twice he's warned him now. Just missing with that left hand.
Good combination by Liles. Right hand right in the temple of Nunn. He stood right in there, though.
Punch him way out.
They're both winging so that if one of them steps into the other's punch, you can see a flash knockdown here. Because Liles has been pity-patting, and all of a sudden he turned on the heat just then with that combination. As he seems to be sure of the target, he's now punching hard.
Come on, let him go.
All low punches, but not hard. Another one low by Michael Nunn.
Catching right on a belt buckle and down. Sweet Michael Young, second to Michael Nunn, second to Nunn. Obviously, somebody is proved to be better than he. But he tries to make the comeback here and regain the title that he once held.
Well, for a very long time, he was second to Nunn. It's a thing of beauty there. If he just had offense during that time, he would have been one of the great ones. Good shots by him. While he missed, he came back with a hook that hit Frankie Liles, and that's what counts.
You see him exchanging the center of the ring again, and Liles has had a very solid second round against Michael Nunn. Nunn, who vaulted on the amateur scene as a 19-year-old junior Olympic champion, winning his first 8 professional fights by knockout, and here he comes back at the end of the second round. And he was pushed. That's not a knockdown rule by the referee.
That's about
at the end of the bell.
Frankie Liles woke up, and Nunn went to sleep.
What? You pushing. Look, I know you pushing. Mike, you burping. Watch the walk. You got to go ahead. You got to double this guy and steady this guy up. All right? We work on that feinting and fire. Because if you throw the feints and fire, you'll catch him. You're not throwing no body shots. You're not throwing them.
Let's take a look right at the end of the round. Again, Lyle was getting some good punches in, but so was Michael Nunn here.
Well, this was the kind of slip that happened at the very end. Fortunately, nobody's calling these slips knockdowns, which are.
Let's go, out of there. Come on.
And on his way down, the bell was ringing. And that ended round number 2 as the bell goes for the third round. WBA Super Middleweight Championship. Sam Smith, Purdy Pacheco, Showtime Championship Boxing from Quito, Ecuador. Altitude, just a shade over 9,000.
These two gentlemen have been here a while, and they have trained here, and that should not influence this bout. But the next one coming up has got big problems.
Bernard Hopkins fighting the hometown favorite, Segundo Mercado. Hopkins arriving only this past Tuesday. You see Nunn coming right out in the center of the ring again. Lyle continues to try to jab his way in. Nunn, using that great defensive skill, steps away.
See how he keeps his hands down? There's a man sitting in the ring here, ringside here. Muhammad Ali used to fight like that, but he had the height to do it and the legs to get away. He could get away with that. He's very careless, this Nunn here. He puts his hands all the way down, and he's in front of a guy that apparently has a good bang.
One of the nice things Lyle has been able to do here, Ferdy, is that he's doubled up on that right hand. He leads with a lead left and then doubles with a right hand, and it's made some pretty good. There it is again.
That's a nice combination in there, and that right and left landed like that, and then like that. Hey, those are 4 punches that landed. Big mark on the judge's scorecard, and Nunn looks over this corner like saying that was nothing. I'll get started here pretty soon. That's bad. I'd like to see a fighter look to his corner.
Speaking of Lyle again, training here since December the 1st, they actually went another 1,000 feet up. They did train at about 10,000, literally trying to get acclimated to the altitude. He said the first 10 days, he said, was pure hell. He said, I just couldn't breathe.
Well, you also have to wonder if he's going to miss Angelo Dundee in the corner. Look at that.
You see Nunn coming back. His left-right combination backs Lyle up. Lyle tries to counter the center of the ring.
And that's very flashy for the audience, but that's all he's done this round, while the other guys solidly put in a good workman-like performance. I mean, if that's what he's waiting for, you know, one of these flashing things. Meantime, he keeps getting hit an awful lot by Liles, who just keeps working. As I started to say, depends on the corner work. I mean, you've got an Angelo Dundee telling you what to do, and all of a sudden you haven't got him. How does that affect him? We'll see.
Half a minute to go in the third round, scheduled for 12. Lyle again coming out, fighting behind a couple of jabs in the first round, but Nunn very active in round one. Lyle came back, took control in the second round. Good combinations.
What I like about Lyle is the way he comes back with a hook after he's thrown his straight punch. I mean, he comes back in now, you just saw an uppercut that missed. And this guy doesn't forget. I mean, he just doesn't throw a punch and forget. He just says, here's another one, and then there's another one. That's the way you get points. He's building them up.
There's a bell to end the third round, and you can hear the crowd appreciating what they're hearing right now, but not necessarily picking one of their favorites as the corners go busily to work.
Don't eliminate your speed. You got you know how we get close? That slap back move, slap back, fire that 3-punch combination, feint, fire it again. Because he's ready to go. You got to slam that body, Mike. I'm telling you, I can't do it for you, man. You can do it. You can do it,
Let's take a look at some of this fierce action in here. And you can see this is the middle where Nunn comes on. 2 low plunges. That one was just at the peak of the cheek and the tip of the chin. In both times, where there's no heavy damage done, but it looked great. As you can see on there, it looks marvelous, except that he hadn't done any fighting for the other 2.5 minutes. And in his corner, Greg Page, the former great heavyweight champion, said, I can't do it for you. And he said, you didn't do it for yourself. Can you do it for me?
This is a little surprised to have Greg Page in that corner. It was kind of a surprise to us when he walked in and said he was going to work with Michael Nunn tonight.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me. He gave him good advice. He said, you're too fast. You're out slicking yourself.
You see Nunn coming out, trying to flip that left jab out to lead with a right, follow with a jab, and then the left-hand hook if he can get it in.
And that's pure alley. Hands down and using your legs to get out of trouble.
Almost backhanding his way in, and Lyle made him pay.
Lyle's out boxing and out thinking him, and that's hard to believe when you know how good Nunn has been. It's just that he's workmanlike. This corner's got him working. I mean, like 3 minutes out of every round. No rest, no rest.
Frankie Liles with that 25-1 record actually won his first 21 fights, 14 by knockout before he lost to Tim Liles for the USBA 168-pound title in Las Vegas. Lost a tough 12-round decision. That's the only blemish on his otherwise perfect pro career. They seem starting to lean on each other a little here in the fourth.
Now this is something that Frank Liles doesn't need. He's letting Nunn rest when he had him going from outside. And he's not that devastating an inside puncher. I mean, they're doing nothing.
You know, Ferdy, we always hear the terminology of resting a round or two. It'll be interesting in this altitude in a 12-round championship fight when you're afforded the opportunity to do so. It may be even as early as this 4th round somewhat.
Well, when you see men clinch and they clinch for long periods of time, that's what they're talking about, resting. I mean, that is resting. Now, there are guys that know how to fight inside, like Carmen Basilio, who had a sneaky little uppercut, and when you thought you were resting, you ended up resting on the canvas. A guy like that would get a masterpiece of an uppercut in.
You can hear the whistles in the background, and that is not a sign that somebody's whistling at the beer vendors. They are wanting something to happen in this 4th round. Building seats just a shade over 18,000 for boxing. It'll be about 3/4 full during this fight. It may be filled for the title fight featuring Segundo Mercado, young man from Quito, Ecuador.
Nice, good left hand. Now he's coming. Now Nunn is coming.
Nunn dug a couple of shots to the body, then comes upstairs. Lyle with his mouth gaping open. He's trying to gasp for some wind right now.
Nice rally. Nice rally by Michael Nunn. He keeps this up. He takes his round.
And there's the bell to end the 4th round, and the crowd appreciated the tail end of the round anyway. Let's head back to our studios in New York. Bruce Beck along with Bobby Chase.
All right, Sam, Bobby, you've seen Frankie Liles. Now, what do you think?
Tell you what, he's looking a lot like a mirror image of Michael Nunn. Southpaw, tall, lanky, not a big puncher. May punch just a little more crisp than Nunn, but Nunn, in my mind right now, clearly has the experience in his mind. He's been in with the better competition. I think that that's going to come out as we get a little later into the fight.
How do you have it scored right now?
Well, right up until the last part of that last round, I had Liles ahead by a little bit. He might still have a slight edge, or it's pulled to about even, but it's a dead close fight, and the experience is going to be the factor right now.
We always talk about the difficulty of fighting a southpaw. What about when one fights another?
You know, I never thought about that too much because normally when I face one, it's always annoying. I guess they know each other pretty well.
All right, let's go back to the 2 southpaws south of the equator, and here's Sam Smith.
Thank you, Bruce. You see this crowd in a semblance here. Roman Yahweh Coliseum, named after the great general that was the last of the Inca Indians, emperors before it fell to the Spaniards back in 1534. And, of course, honored throughout this great city of Quito as they're underway in round number 5. Now, does Nunn keep up the pressure he had in the 4th round? That's another question.
He has been taking a round off, then fighting around. I have it just like Bobby. I have it 38-38, and thanks to that last little rally that pulled that round for Michael Nunn. But the only thing I saw is a little bit tired now with his mouth open. Maybe the nervousness of being in a really big fight with a guy that has a great reputation like Nunn is working on him a little bit. Doesn't seem to bother Nunn. Nunn is just going along like he always does.
You know, Michael Nunn made an interesting comment when he arrived here in Quito. He said, I'm going to win my 3rd world championship on Saturday night. If I don't win my 3rd title, I promise to stay in Ecuador for a year. Rather interesting comment.
Chamber of Commerce should use that in their next ad. Hey, this guy loses it, he's going to punish himself by staying here for a year.
Frankie Liles said he wanted to come, do his business, and get out of here with his first title defense. Said one of the things that was very difficult as he got ready for this fight, though, was all of the hoopla that was surrounding, of course, the Mercado fight. And then all of a sudden he thought for a moment, and he and Freddie Roach in unison said, you know, we're kind of living in their shadow again, and we're kind of enjoying it because we're going about our business. And so is Frankie Liles right now in his 5th round.
All those little punches landed, not with any perceptible effect, but it's like a little waterfall there. It's just raining on it. But Nunn is fighting hard. I mean, when he throws, it's hard. He just doesn't throw enough.
Another warning to Nunn about throwing a apparent low blow again.
I mean, it will be amazing if they don't take a round away, a point away, because all of his blows have been low when he goes to the body.
Less than a minute to go in the 5th round, scheduled for 12. Nunn again trying to put on that little flurry at the end of the round to try to steal it back.
When he tries, he looks good to it. In the meantime, Frankie just keeps on whittling away. Look at this. See, it's 3, 4, 5, 6 punches, and then look at this. There now been 10 or 11 punches by Frankie Liles, and nothing by Nunn. He's just kind of taking it. Well, about 15, 16 punches.
You know, Nunn seems like a guy you'd be very frustrated with if you were a trainer or manager of this guy.
Well, there are. I mean, he's had a lot of them. Listen, if you can frustrate the great Angelo Dundee, and I don't think he was particularly frustrated by it, it's just that he couldn't get him to do what he wanted him to do. You know, Angelo builds a fire in the corner under you. If you don't get going, you got more trouble in the corner than you got in the ring with Angelo. So, I mean, he must have gone crazy with Nunn.
Well, Frankie Liles may have hugged with Nunn through the fourth, but he came out throwing some pretty good punches in the fifth round as both fighters retreat to their corner. And again, Frank Liles, the champion, defending his title, is back in the dressing room. You take a look at the guys getting ready. This, of course, is Bernard Hopkins as he gets ready to come out as the #1 IBF contender for the middleweight title. However, he has to fight in the opponent's hometown, and it's right here in Quito. Very confident young man, with the exception of the one problem coming in so late.
Yeah.
It's got to be a problem.
That's not his fault. That's his manager's fault.
Be out of the corner, okay?
Let's take a look at the low blow. And this is, I repeat, this is not an isolated incident. This has been going all 5. Now, that one wasn't really low. That one was on the B there, between the B and the L.
You see Nunn's corner working frantic on him, really just trying to get him pumped into the fight again.
Come on, Rhodes.
Lee Roach doing the same with the champion, and there's the bell as we're off and running in round 6.
An even fight. It's for either man to take it. One punch changes things around. One guy drops the other, and the momentum changes. But there's very little to pick from between these two guys. I mean, Frankie doing the workmanlike job, conscientious and working every minute that he can, and Nunn looking slick and beautiful and fighting when he wants to. Sometimes enough to win the round, and sometimes not.
You take a look at the activity of these two fighters. Liles, most active years, 90 and 91. 6 fights in 97 and 91. He won all 13 of those. Had only 7 fights in the last 3 years, however. The other side, of course, Michael Nunn, very active, 85, 86, 87. Had a total of 26 fights, won them all in those 3 years. Only 13 fights in the last 6 years, however. Or, of course, Michael Nunn, former 2-time world champion. Middleweight, super middleweight, WBA title that he lost, he's trying to regain again tonight. And he leans on Liles again here in the 6th round.
Not much happening with the shots in the body because they're so weak. They're just kind of play shots and not really hurting anybody. But men again have apparently elected to be satisfied to take off this round and fight slow. Slowly. They are working themselves into an even round here. One over the other better take them in. Uh-oh. How many more times can you warn him before he takes off a point? That's the 3rd time that he said to him, keep the blows up.
You know, Bernie, both these fighters started out very actively in the first 2 rounds. They coasted a bit in the 4th, a more active 5th round, and now in the 6th, they seem to, again, have started the round coasting a bit, and now Nunn starts coming out punching a little bit here.
That was a great series of punches by Nunn, but now, see, he stops. He's got to come right back. He can't let this guy get off again.
Nunn, of course, trying to preserve his energy. Maybe that just under 10,000 feet, maybe starting to take its toll.
Well, I tell you, it takes its toll in your brains, if not on your body. You start thinking about it. Uh-oh, I better save some. I'm only starting here. I better get, you know, and he's fighting in flurries like he's thinking about altitude. I don't think it's they're exactly wearing down. You know, you can't see any wild evidence of it, but certainly it's got to be on their mind. I mean, I think, you know, if Nunn had the consistency that Liles did to work all the time, he could probably have knocked him. Oh, now that one is a very low blow, and this has got to cost him. That's the point.
That's it. In the 6th round. So on more than a half a dozen occasions, low blows were thrown by Nunn. Maybe 3 or 4 of those were acknowledged by the referee, and now this one in the 6th brings a 1-point deduction to Michael Nunn, and in a close fight, Bernie, that is a very serious deduction right now.
For example, I thought Michael was winning the run and looking good, winning the round and looking good, and now you take a point out, makes it an even round. So, you know, good luck. Neither guy got anything out of that.
We have gone halfway through the scheduled 12 rounders. The bell just ends the 6th round.
Okay. It's the championship time, son. Come on. Frankie, what you got to do is you're working your body fine in there, all right? And then you're taking the punches on the way, though. You're a little bit too tight. take a half step back and fire the uppercut to the middle. You hear me? When he's leaning on you, half step back, fire the uppercut right to the shin. Right there. Right to the body. You don't have nothing left. All right? It's got nothing, man. When he's leaning on you, you half step back and rip the uppercut. You hear me, son?
Let's take a look and see on the final low blow that brings the 1-point deduction here.
No question about it.
A lot of doubt.
There is no question about it.
So with a 1-point deduction in the 6th round against Nunn, Frankie Liles in almost a dead heat fight. They have taken a slight advantage as both fighters are anxious to get underway in the 7th round. If we continue in a very tight fight, let me bring to mind, in this fight, in the super middleweights, there's been only one draw. As you see, Nunn coming out early.
Oh. The reaction is he's mad because he's complaining about low blows. And now, another one of those days. And now Liles is complaining to the referee, hey, he's hitting me low again.
So as Nunn complains, then Lyle does his complaining. And now they're back fighting again. Only one draw in the super middleweight title fight. 30, you were there, June 1989. Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hitman Hearns.
Oh, yeah, what a wonderful night that was. Two magnificent fighters. Now, you see, Nunn continues to punch low. He just doesn't regard it. But it's not doing it intentionally. I mean, but it is going south of the word. See, another low one. But just borderline. Now, look at, see now, Liles wants to come on. Liles says, I got to get this back. I can't let this go. And all of a sudden, Nunn quits. That's his old self. He just quit.
You know, it's almost one of those situations on a 1-point deduction and a continued warning. A fighter abandons any kind of a body game plan at all, but Nunn, no, he keeps going there.
He didn't abandon it, but it sure made him mad. And he's been fighting with a great deal more fierceness than he's shown before. I mean, he's almost like lost his head, which is unusual for this guy.
Halfway through the 7th round.
Oh, I mean, this guy's going for a knockout. I mean, Michael Nunn wants knockout time. He doesn't want anything else. Get up, Frankie, they're going to start counting you.
Second down that he's tossed him down here.
Yeah, and Frankie shouldn't stay down to kill time, because that's the way temptation creeps in to count you. Hey, if you hurt that bad, you know, you should bounce up and act like it's nothing. Also, you don't want to show the other guy that you're getting tired. He is getting tired. I don't know about the altitude, but I do know about the body shots, and that does get you tired. Even though they've been so far south of the border, Nunn has really launched a heavy body attack. It seems to have wilted Frank Liles.
Liles definitely going backwards from where he was early, even though he's gamely coming ahead on Nunn. Nunn just hop-shotting him now with that great counterattack that he's got.
He's got a wonderful jab. We haven't seen much of it. I mean, he's in a mode of attack now. He's not doing what he used to do with that jab, but he's got a wonderful jab if he wants to use it.
Slings another right hand and also hit low on Lyle. Lyle just kind of raised his eyebrow, saying, well, what else is new?
Lyle's to the point of exhaustion where he's not trying to block him. He's just ducking down with each attack.
You see Nunn coming out, good right hand, and he follows with a combination. Lyle trying to cover on the ropes. Nunn fighting right up the middle as the bell sounds, and Michael Nunn has ignited a little fire here.
Excellent round for Michael Nunn.
Don't forget, coming up, our main event tonight, and it should be a great one. They'll battle 12 rounds for the middleweight champion of the IBF. And it's going to be Bernard Hopkins, who had a chance for a world title before, going up against Segundo. And his name is Mercado, and they're going to know it forever here in Ecuador. And there he is in his dressing room. And every place you go, all you hear is the chant for this young man and Ecuador. They are really pumped. Young man has been trying to be shielded from all of the activities, but you can't keep him away from everything as he gets ready for tonight's title fight. Coming up next on Showtime.
Well, this is the kind of hammering action that you see. You see pinpoint accuracy on the part of Nunn, and the other guy is just kind of flailing, trying to keep him off. For the first time, it looked like the momentum swung definitely to Michael Nunn. Let's see if he follows up, which he usually doesn't do. Let's see if he does. Let's see if he understands that he's on the way to a knockout victory if he can keep it up.
8th round of a scheduled 12-rounders underway. WBA Super Middleweight Championship from Quito, Ecuador. Sam Smith, Bernie Pacheco here in Ecuador. Bruce Beck and the former champion Bobby Ches in our studios in New York. And right now, the defending champion, Frankie Liles, who seems to be wilting, is now getting hammered here by Michael Nunn.
They butted
fighting
heads.
again.
And, you know, Nunn is just so upset. He keeps looking at the referee and talking. When he gets butted, when he gets an elbow, he keeps looking at him. And the referee gets fight. Protect yourself at all times.
Little cut on the bottom of the lip there of Lyle. How about the scoring so far, Ferdy? What do you got?
I got it dead even, 66 to 66. It took a point away from Michael Nunn, and they've been swapping rounds. Now it looks like that Nunn is on a run, but still by points at 66-66. It might as well be the first round. We're just starting.
Lyle trying to take the fight to Nunn again. Nunn. Great foot movement as he backs him up into the ropes.
Confidence is etched on the face of Nunn. Worry is etched on the face of Frankie Liles. It looks like he's not having a good time. He's really getting pummeled to his stomach a lot.
Little infighting again, as Ferdy pointed out. A lot of times the fighter will have that one key punch inside. Guys are just trying to wail away on the outside with looping punches. Nothing up the middle right now. You see that wide left hand of Nunn. Well, pretty good right hand lands on Lyle.
When talking to Michael today, he told me, he said, I love the way Chavez lands that left hand over by the liver. He says, that's going to be my shot. He certainly has landed it enough. He can send a crate of over to Chavez in appreciation of that left hook, because he has been hammering it any chance he gets. Left hook, right hook. All to the body.
Lyles quietening down in the latter rounds here now. Has played right into Michael Nunn's game.
Oh, no. See, that was hard enough to do that. That wasn't hard enough to do that. He's play acting now. He is now looking for any excuse again. That body attack is killing him. He's now bending him over. See it?
Frankie Lyles really taking some shots.
And stop Nunn in his tracks with one punch.
One big right hand and then follows with a combination. Nunn trying to lean on him to smother the punches.
Boy, he got hammered. If he wasn't in great shape, he would have gone down. Well, that's a surprise punch coming in just when things are going your way.
Lyles just arm punching here at the end of the round.
He really doesn't have anything. You know that? He doesn't have anything.
And there's the bell to end the 8th round. Turn of events both ways. Let's head back to our New York studios where, gentlemen, you've seen this fight. We have ebbed and flowed in this one tonight.
Bobby, it is clear that Lyles is outworking Nunn.
Yeah, I think that he's winning the fight, and he's not winning it by any large margins, but there are only brief moments of brilliance by Michael Nunn. He's not working early enough in the round, tries to pull the round out late, but it's not enough work. Frankie Liles is just outworking him, but right now I think that the toll is being taken on Frank Liles' body a little more than it is Nunn. Seems to be wearing down a little more quickly. One time when he pushed him to the ground, he didn't get up right away, wanted to get the rest. He's tired.
What does Nunn have to do in the next few rounds?
I think he's got to put on the pressure and force the fight. He's got to work a little earlier. The body shots are starting to work for Michael Nunn. Stay with that, and he's got to rip some uppercuts inside, and he can pull this out.
Could Nunn be stealing the rounds late with those flurries?
With any judge, it's possible. Sugar Ray Leonard was one of the best at doing it. For my money, no.
All right, let's go back to Sam and Ferdy, ringside.
Back him up. He can't fucking go back.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bell sounds to start our 9th round of a scheduled 12-rounder. Michael Nunn on the left. And the champion, Frankie Liles, now working himself to the left side of your screen. As Showtime Championship Boxing brings you the WBA Super Middleweight title. A title that Michael Nunn once held and would like to regain it tonight from the champion.
Well, the last 2 rounds have been Nunn on the attack. You see him come out and dance. I mean, that's not an exhausted guy. I mean, this guy's got everything he wants. The other guy is looking to clinch, looking to buy some time with the referee complaining. You know, the difference between seeing a fight at ringside and seeing it, you know, in the studio is never more evident because you can see what's in their face and how their body sags with the attack. That middle of the round attack by Nunn really took everything out of Frankie Liles. If he hadn't been able to catch him with that one punch, that would have been the end of it.
Frankie Liles trying to come back with some counters it on against Michael Nunn. We'll see him back up against the ropes.
Now, there's that work ethic we spoke of and we're watching, but now it's not like it was in the early rounds. It's not with brio, it's not with zing, it's just arm punches. He's not getting anything in there.
It is just about time, certainly, to start thinking about will Liles defend his title or will he lose it? He's held it for 4 months and 5 days. The shortest anyone has ever held the super middleweight numbers is Murray Sutherland. Held the title for only 3 months and 25 days. So not a long run for Liles. He'd like to make it a lot longer. He'll have to work in the last 3.5 rounds. Still a little blood just in the bottom part of the mouth and on the mouthpiece of Frankie Liles. No problem. That occurred back in the 7th round.
Again, both men in a just tie up the other fellow and let the time go by in a time-consuming mode. They're not picking up the pace of that last round. Well, those were 2 home runs by Nunn that didn't come close.
You know, he has an unusual style, Ferdy, and in fact, he throws that left hand and just kind of rocks back on his heels in order to duck what's coming at him and comes back with the right hand.
He's very hard to hit flush. You know, the times he's been beat, he was very careless at the time. When his synapses are all working, when his reflexes are working, he's a hard man to hit. He does like Ali. He uses his physical advantages. The fact that his legs will take him out of trouble, his height will take him out of trouble.
Well, Nunn was...
He just got hit a real hard shot. Every time Nunn gets hit a flush hard shot, he falls in and tries to tie up. He's smart.
You see him still ripping those shots to the body. Maybe caught on the belt buckle, but he's still throwing them. Liles again, it almost seems at the end of each round is almost arm punching to the end of the round, and he does again. And Michael Nunn again ducking away from a couple of the punches thrown by Liles.
Deep breath. Breathe. Championship territory, Frank. Frank, beautiful work. Championship territory. Behind that jab and break in. The right hook to the body. Come on, Frank. And back to the chin. You hear me? It'll work. Jab, right break in with right hook to the body, and double hook to the chin. You hear me? We're not the son of a bitch. Come on, Frank.
He got done and did it better to start the round.
Right?
After the minute, he's finished.
Don't give him anything.
Don't give him anything. You're the champ.
Don't let this guy rest. Okay? You're letting him rest out there when you're doing nothing. Okay? Every time he backs up, you take that slack up, put that jab on his ass. Okay? Double jab. Body, all right? Come on, buddy. Let's go. Come on, mommy.
Well, Ferdy, it's apparently you haven't been around boxing 100 years for nothing. You said exactly that same thing, and he's resting. He's letting Nunn off the hook sometimes.
Well, I was a cornerman for about 20 years, so I know all the dialogue. He's got a great little cornerman, Freddie Roach, who was one of the savage angel-faced killers I ever saw in my life fight. Brave beyond words. And, of course, the heavyweight, O'Halloran, kept saying, you're the champ, you're the champion. You got to say more than that. You got to tell this guy what to do to keep his title.
Ferdy, how about any style changes, left-hander to left-hander? Are they doing anything differently than you'd expect?
No, they're not. You know, what that looks like is just like an algebraic equation. Right-hander against right-hander, left-hander against left-hander, no advantage. And when left-hander against right-hander, you got something to talk about. Something happened, you look down. But Nunn looked down. You slipped on something, you looked down.
But of course, paint that was added to the canvas just a couple of days ago, a little slippery on one side, unslipping a little bit. Liles having trouble finding Nunn here in this team.
Yeah, Nunn has gone right into a defensive posture. Maybe they think they're that far ahead that they can afford to give away a round. I don't think so. I think we've got them 86 to 84. But believe me, it could just be the same way the other way, depending on how the judges like their fight. I mean, you know, we've got 3 judges, and this is a very close fight. To me, it's a very close fight.
Keep in mind that Nunn did have a 1-point deduction back in the 6th round for continuing throwing low blows on Frankie Liles. Then they tried to exchange low blows for the next 2 rounds. Complaints coming from both sides.
Well, it's almost the first time that I've ever seen Nunn get mad, and I've watched almost every one of his fights. He's so cool in there. You almost want to make him mad.
So many people talked about when he lost his IBF middleweight title there.
Got hit real hard with the right hand. When Nunn gets hit hard, his leg does a little wobble. I mean, it's hard to explain, but sitting at ringside, you see a punch go right through him and wobble him. That was a short, chopping punch.
And he's throwing that left hand over the top. You can see it again, catching Liles just in behind the right ear. Not again fighting comfortably. Again, as I pointed out, when he lost to James Toney, he was ahead on everybody's scorecard. Got caught with the left hand, and down he goes and out in May of '91 to lose his title.
Well, either one of these men needs a definitive knockdown.
Another good left hand by Nunn. Comes back with another left hand. Another left hand. Liles is in trouble on the ropes. Half a minute to go.
Well, I ordered that up, and I got it. You need something definitive to turn this thing around, and that was it. Now, if he wants to attack now, he's there for the taking.
Nunn clearly winded after that flurry. He threw at Liles. Just wants to finish this 10th round. Then he comes back with another left hand. Another left hand. Combination. Liles answer with one of his own. As the bell ends, a frantic and exciting 10th round.
Take your time, man. Doing good. He want to give it up, man. He want to give it up. Let him have a laugh. That's the way you do it, baby. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's the way you do it, man. You gotta have it. Doing good. That's what you need. That's what you need, baby.
Let's take a look at that furious action. And this is just exactly about the time I said either one needs a knockdown to get a clear grip on this fight. Then Nunn begins to launch this attack. You can see there's some crisp punches. The main thing is they keep coming from all sides. Some land, some don't, but at the end of the round, you see the effect. The effect of all those punches is that Frankie Liles has wilted, and this was after the bell right there. We could have had another one of those nights here.
Well, if you go back and put this fight in a bottle, it turned out it's surprising Michael Nunn came out rather early. Then he got into trouble with the low blows. Frankie Liles started to get a little momentum. But you'll have to mark down the 10th round is clearly a round that Michael Nunn may, even though he got a 1-point deduction, may have won this fight in that 10th round.
Well, it certainly turned around the momentum, and it should be the opinion of the judges for at least that round. He was totally in command and had worn out his men. I mean, let's say, you got to reach back and give Frankie Liles a lot of credit. I mean, at this altitude, he's been in here taking these punches, and they're not just a few, but many. So he's got all kind of heart as a champion, and he's trying desperately to keep his championship.
Well, despite having a total of 28 knockouts in his 45 fights, Michael Nunn has been the distance. 7 times he's gone 10, 7 times he's gone 12. He shoves Liles down. So Nunn can go the distance, or he can finish him early, as we alluded to at the start of the show. And he's still trying to work that body inside. Lyle comes back. Again, the punches don't seem to have much to him right now.
You know, if they did and they landed like that, they'd have zoomed him through the ropes, because he landed 2 beautiful shots just then, and they had nothing on him. And they landed flush.
Frankie Liles in his 26 fights has been 12 rounds 3 times. The last time was the one that he'll always cherish, winning the world title for Steve Little in Argentina back in August.
Look at the way he uses his body to get away. I mean, for people who love defensive fighting, you really got to study this kid. From the time I first saw Michael Nunn, I had my mouth open on the way he had a radar in his head and in his body, and the way he used his legs to avoid punches. It was like Ali's, like Sugar Ray Leonard, it was like the great Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, these guys that have this defensive gift. I mean, so few of them in boxing, so few that when you see a good one, you really say, boy, if he just had a little offensive power, he'd be one of the ring greats of all time.
And that's exactly what Nunn is missing, is that offensive power. 28 knockouts certainly is something to certainly consider, but it never has been his real forte. He does it over the distance of the fight. You see both fighters really tiring now in the 11th. Lyle just kind of hacking away with a left hook.
Yeah, and that was like right on the neck. It's like a sloppy thing, you know. It was like hitting a guy with a tree trunk or something. He was whipping him, you know.
Michael Nunn starting to measure a little more. There's another good left hand. Lyle trying to keep him at distance. Not again. A big left hand and out.
Lyle staying in this fight, always dangerous, always looking for that one that'll change it. Nunn still talking to the referee. I mean, he has said more to the referee than he said to me all week long.
You know, Ferdy, there's one thing when you're talking about the guy that has the defensive skills of Nunn. It also has to come a little situation in the fact, as the bell ends the 11th, you have to be a little cocky when you can do that. And in the ring, he certainly is.
You got 3 minutes.
minutes, son. Come on, I love you. 3 minutes.
We need to win
This
this
is
round,
your
but
championship.
do not risk, okay? Do not risk, okay?
Don't reach for him. Don't reach for him. You got 3 minutes, Frankie.
Do not risk the fight, but we need to win this.
Last round, when you come out, touch me up, okay?
Okay.
You got 3 minutes.
Inside, okay? You need to go to the side.
Both hands.
With the left uppercut and right hook, you
He ain't gonna give you shit. You gotta go ahead and take it from this guy, man. You gotta take it from this guy, Mike.
Mike. Don't wait on him.
knock him down. Pump his hand, you knock him down.
Can you sense this corner that thinks that they got the championship win and the one that's pleading for him to keep it? I mean, what a difference in dialogue. What a difference in feeling. What a difference in temperature in different corners. I'm sure somebody has said in there to Michael Nunn, all you need to do is take this round. Don't quit here. Just do what you've been doing. If you lose it, it doesn't make any difference. It's 105 to 103 on my card. And I gave the last round, even though he was taking a shellacking of Frank Liles, because he just kept coming back and landing meaningful, short little shots.
Less than 3 minutes away from Frankie Liles making his first title defense on Michael Nunn, becoming a 3-time world champion and repeating as the WBA super middleweight title holder.
Well, Greg Page was really good in the corner. He just kept exhorting him, encouraging him. He's got it done. You know, you're talking to a guy that's been tops in his field for years in Greg Page. He knows. He's looking at it. And, of course, in the other corner, you got Frankie Roach, who was also great, and O'Halloran. So these guys had good corner work tonight, but the altitude and each other have made them fight a very, very close fight.
Bertie, would you mark this down as a little bit of a different look for Michael Nunn and maybe a total different look to trying to become a great champion that he might be?
I think this is his first step in that direction. He's certainly different from the Michael Nunn I've seen. He's taking chances that the other Michael Nunn would never take. He's gone to the body no matter whether they take points away from him or not. The older Michael Nunn would have never punched in the body again.
Halfway through the 12th and final round of this title fight. This crowd really hasn't picked a favorite in this fight. They've been very right down the middle and have enjoyed most of the rounds tonight. You heard a few whistles early on, particularly in that 4th round when they decided to coast a bit. But outside of that, they've been well entertained.
I think if you like fine boxing, you like to see a guy use his head on defense and still come hammering ahead on offense, you got to give this thing overall just a feeling of it to Michael Nunn. If you like those guys that just work and work and work and won't give up, you got to think that maybe Frankie Liles kept his championship. I don't. I'm one of the ones that thinks Michael Nunn has won his fight. But it's not over.
It's one of those things on Frankie Liles, who seems to be losing energy by the second here. In the last minute, you try to go caution to the wind and go in for the knockout, hoping to win, but you can't catch Nunn.
No, and sometimes you get caught.
And Nunn is going to put a punctuation mark in the 12th round anyway.
He is not going to leave any doubt here.
Judges, Bob Watson, Oscar Perez, Gonzalo Oliveras from Venezuela, the other two from the U.S. will have the cards in their hands, and they'll make the decision on this fight tonight. And look, he gamely trying to fight out.
Look at that. 4 moves of the head, and he avoided 4 punches. Out comes the mouthpiece of Frankie Liles. He is an exhausted man. Frankie Liles is tired.
And there's the bell to end it. Nunn believes he's won it. Liles believes he's retained. And you can see them standing on their feet in the background here in Ecuador. They have certainly appreciated their first ever world championship fight here in Ecuador. Liles again looked as if he started to ebb a bit, particularly around the 6th or 7th round. Maybe the low blows with a 1-point deduction certainly was a situation that Nunn getting a 1-point deduction, and Liles clearly started to slow down a bit there. And Nunn started to pick up. You saw him at that outburst in the 7th round when he thought that he caught a low blow. Maybe that was when the adrenaline really started to kick in. They exchanged rounds up until particularly the 10th round. And in my book, that's where Michael Nunn, if he indeed wins this fight tonight, will have won his 3rd world title. Liles gamely fighting on in the last 2 rounds, but just unable to catch up with a great defensive fighter in Michael Nunn, who is trying to go to 44-2. In the 12th round, again, Nunn. Look how he came out at Liles. He catches him with a combination. Liles, just arm punching right now. And Nunn with that great defensive skill, stepping away from everything Liles had to throw here in the 12th round. That was early on. At the end of the round, you see Nunn coming at him again. Good left hook to the head. Came right up the middle. Liles will gamely try to throw some punches, but the end was near in the 12th. And you saw the punctuation mark put on by Michael Nunn in the 12th round. Got a former middleweight champion moving up to the super middleweight after he lost that title that he had won from Frank Tate. In the super middleweight, defeated Victor Cordoba. Defeated him in a rematch, quite convincingly, I might add, after a controversial victory to get the title. And then finally coming up and losing that title, which he may have come up and regained as he lost to Steve Little, who Liles beat for the title. And you can see them anxiously awaiting the decision in the ring. And Jimmy Lennon will have it for us in just a moment. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction of the crowd will be, plus or minus, for the two fighters.
Over here, guys. Come on, man.
Coming up as this ring will be cleared and then will be refilled, and I mean filled, with all kinds of dignitaries. Our main event coming up on Showtime. It'll be the IBF vacant middleweight championship of the world. And the two combatants stepping in is Bernard Hopkins of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the hometown favorite from Quito, Ecuador, Segundo Mercado. Mercado again, hailed as one of the outstanding young middleweights to come up, 18-2. But has he had the fights to match that of Hopkins? We'll find out on our main event tonight, coming up in just a few moments on Showtime. Well, they've tallied the cards. The three judges have put the numbers down. Does Liles retain the title, or is Michael Nunn the three-time world champion? Let's head up to Jimmy Lennon for the decision.
Damas y caballeros, tras de 12 rounds, tenemos una decisión unánime. Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we have a unanimous decision. El juez Riveles tiene la pelea 115-112, 115-112. El juez Watson vio la pelea 117-111, 117-111. El juez Pérez vio la pelea 114-113, 114-113 a favor del ganador Frankie Liles.
Despite the fact it looked like he was wilting, has apparently put together enough in this fight at the discretion of the judges to retain his championship. And you heard the numbers. 3 points on one card, 6 on another, and a scant 1 point on the third card. But again, the championship has gone to Frankie Liles as he defends his title, and you see Michael Nunn almost in total disbelief here. His handlers trying to quieten him for the moment, and of course all the dignitaries gathering themselves in the ring. Well, gentlemen, we have seen a rather interesting situation here, and Ferdy will talk to the champion coming up in just a moment. Let's head back to New York and get the impression. Bruce, Bobby, quite a fight here.
Thank you, Sam. So Frankie Liles, a unanimous decision. Bobby, your thoughts?
Well, I had him working and outworking Michael Nunn throughout the whole early parts of the fight. I really had him ahead by as many as 5 points at one time, but Michael closed the gap. I wound up having it 6 rounds to 6, but the 1 point deduction, 115, 114, 1 point difference, I had Liles winning by a point because of the point taken.
So it goes back to that one low blow.
That's happened many times. We've seen it with Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank. We've seen it 1,000 times in other fights. You got to play by the rules.
So in your opinion, Nunn just was too far behind when he made that charge in 10, 11, and 12.
You know, I gave him a late charge, as I think you did, and it was just too far behind. You can't let that much slip away. And many times you'll find, especially south of the border, the judges like fighters who work.
All right, right now we're set to go back ringside to Quito. And here's Sam and Ferdy.
Thank you, gentlemen. They're starting to buzz about that decision. Still some conversation going on about it before our main event coming up. Let's get the impression of the man that's retained his title, Frankie Liles. Let's go upstairs to Ferdy Pacheco.
All right, Frankie, congratulations on what must be one of the toughest nights of your life.
Yeah, it was a tough bout. I got to give Michael Nunn a lot of credit. First of all, I got a couple of thank yous. I have to thank Mr. Vick in Cleveland. and my family and friends in Syracuse, New York, for all their support. Because without everybody, I couldn't have done it. And Don King and Showtime.
Let me tell you, this was an extremely hard fight to judge. Extremely hard. I had the other guy winning, Bobby Ches in New York had you winning. So here we are, two experts looking at it a different way. It was a very tough fight. Did it turn on the low blow, did you think? I mean, you know, that 1 point away?
No, not at all. You know, Mike was a lot tougher than what I anticipated. More than anything, I tried to out-hustle him because I couldn't get a lot of shots off. Mike is a very, very skilled fighter. I thought maybe the weight might have had a lot to do with his performance, but he gutted it out, and we had a tough fight. I'd like to do it again, to be honest.
Well, I think that's a fight that people would pay to see again because both of you are very even. We frankly didn't know whether the altitude was bothering you. Was it bothering you?
Yes, it was. I couldn't get my second win, so therefore I couldn't really get sharp. I kept sucking in the corner, but I did what I had to do. I gutted it out, and I wanted on hustling. I got to take my hand off the mic and give him a kiss. All right, Mike.
All right, Michael, I just finished saying to him, I had you ahead. Bobby Ches had Frankie ahead. That's how close this fight was. Two people in two different cities looking at it different. Did the altitude bother you?
No, the altitude didn't bother me. I tried to pick it up in the last couple rounds because, you know, I knew the fight was close. So but the last round I tried to pick it up and let it go. You know, I think I hurt him toward the end of the fight. So I figured I'd done enough to win the fight with it. Unfortunately, I didn't.
Well, this is the first time I've seen you attack the body with such
what
force.
I was hitting him to the body. They kept saying I was hitting him low. So then I kind of like tried to lay off because after they took 1 point without giving me a warning, I'm like, well, I don't want to keep hitting him in the body or whatever. And they said I'm hitting him low and they keep
I don't want to be the one who punches a needle in your balloon, but they warned you 3 times.
Well,
I mean, 3 times.
Well, I know I was hitting him good to the body, but all the shots I was hitting him to the body, I know they wasn't low.
I love you, but 3 times, you know. All right. Did those body blows take a lot out of you?
No, like I said, it was tough for me to get my second win. But like I said, I got to take off my hat to Michael Nunn and give him a whole lot of credit. Because Mike's a great champion, and I did what I had to do. I'm very, very happy. I'm happy with the people that I have working with me. Jack O'Halloran and his wife, Freddie Roach, Ruben, and Mr. Spada.
Well,
they did a great job in the corner.
All right, the super middleweights are really heating up now. How would you like to go? Where would you like to go?
Roy Jones and I have a score to settle. You know, it's a story behind it. I lost to Roy. I was the world champion going to the Olympic trials. I lost to him in the controversial 3-2 split decision. I think it was because of Ray Leonard. I like to fight Roy Jones and then bring Ray Leonard out of retirement and get him too.
All right, and there's no one here that thinks that you're out of boxing because you gave a tremendous performance and you added something you've never had before, the tremendous offensive fight. So I think that you're still not only one of the finest defensive fighters I've ever seen, now you got an offense to go with it. Let's talk to the man who makes the fights, Don King. That's a rich pasture you're in right now with a junior super.
They certainly are. I thought that Frankie did a good job. He was very aggressive. He out-hustled Michael. Michael was fighting good. It was a good fight, an excellent fight for both fighters. I thought it was tremendous. And Frankie Liles just was hustling and outgutting him and going on down the line. But this is what makes a great fight, Purdy. And what we have is another super fight for Showtime Championship Boxing. And I'm very delighted to be in Ecuador with this great fight.
I think it delighted fight fans who wanted to see that type of fight out of Nunn and that type of fight out of the champion, Frankie Liles. So let's go back to ringside and prepare ourselves for a great fight coming up.
So Frankie Liles defends his title and thus joins the WBC champion, Nigel Benn, and IBF champion, Roy Jones Jr. He may get Jones, but I'm not sure about Sugar Ray Leonard out of